Oh my God, we are back for yet another edition of Grindhouse Chic. I'm Robert Schneider, and with me, as always, is Matt Armstrong and Brian Baldwin. Guys, it's been a week.
It has.
It has been a week.
What's going on with yours?
Well, we'll talk about that towards the end of the show. I think we should just get right at it and talk about our conquering our collections for this week. Okay. Brian, why don't you go first?
I did it this week.
Finally.
Yeah. Yes. So I went with one from Cauldron Films, Beyond Terror, Spanish biker horror film. Yeah, it had just been sitting there since it came out, which I feel like it's honestly been like 2 years now.
It's been almost 2 years. That was in the that was wave 2, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, wave 2 is the first one I got slipcases for.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I brought it and sold it yesterday. I did not like it. I thought it was I mean, I do think it's going to have its audience because it's got some sleaze in it and stuff. It's a slow burn. Definitely very light on the horror elements. I just thought it was boring, and ultimately I was like, I'll probably never watch this one again. It wasn't for me. But yeah, so that was my conquering of the collection.
So what was the movie about?
So you've got a woman who, I'll make it real short here. You start off with a woman who is being picked up by a gentleman. You kind of get the idea that she might be a prostitute or something, but it's weird because when she gets in the car with the guy, like, he comes onto her and she's like, "What do you think I am, a whore?" But that is ultimately what she brings him to this spot where she brings all these other guys to sleep with. And what she does is she robs him, stabs him, kills him, takes what he's got, calls her brother up, and it's basically a whole drug thing. It doesn't really go into it much, except for at one point in the film, you see her injecting one of their friends with heroin, and then you're like, oh, okay, so I guess they're all hopped up on heroin. But
go on.
I was just gonna.
This is one of the more modern films, right?
I didn't look at the year, but it felt very 70s to me.
Okay.
And basically that's it. It's this biker gang. They are going around wreaking havoc. They break into this woman's house. It's her, and it looks like a grandmother and her son. They burn the house down. And then they are back on the run, and they find themselves at this old church in the countryside. And the woman who was in the house that they burned down was basically, as the house was burning, she was saying a prayer to the devil, asking, like, make this right, kind of a thing. And the little boy appears to the people either as a little boy or in the form of a dog. And again, I mean, I feel like I'm grasping at straws to sort of, because not a lot happens. I mean, there's some shit that goes on, but it's just like, and they at the church, they find out that there's like all this like treasure buried in the tombs of it, and they're trying to steal this treasure, and I don't know.
All right.
Sounds like you had a good time with it. Sounds like you had a really good time with it.
Like I said, I mean, I've definitely seen far worse, but I was just like, realistically, I'm not gonna watch it again. It was just boring to me.
It's weird with Cauldron. I usually feel, with the exception of the last 2 waves that have been released, there's always been one really good movie and one really subpar movie.
Yeah, I still need to watch the other. Was it the Black Cat? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
The other one that came out with Beyond Terror. I haven't watched it either, so that might be my next one. Spoilers.
Matt, what movie did you conquer your collection with?
I went with a Shout Factory title that I had laying around. It's from 1981, and it is actually Denzel Washington's first feature film role. It's called Carbon Copy. That light is really shining on there. But basically about this, you're kind of introduced to this rich white family. The main actor is George Siegel. You're kind of introduced to him. He lives in a real like uptight, rich community in California, and right away you see that just like everyone's super racist and the worst, like just the comments they make about everything. So Q, his long lost son that he never knew he had, Denzel Washington, to show up and kind of just take his life over. His boss that he works for is also his father-in-law, who is also super racist. So they end up kind of just, firing him from his job, kicking him out of the family, take all of his money away from him. So he's forced to go live in pretty much poverty with Denzel, trying to just survive day to day, and then kind of changes him along the way, and he ends up going to be like meeting up on the corner and goes to like shovel horse stables all day to earn like $20, kind of just sees the other side of society and how the other side lives and stuff. And then his father-in-law comes back and gives him the chance to come back to the family, and he comes back just to say like screw you, and goes to be with his son Denzel Washington, who the whole time you think is like some real poor kid, but he's 16 years old and he's already pre-med and like destined to be rich. So but you don't find out until the end, so that's not why he did it.
Did you like the movie?
Yeah, I thought it was really good actually. And I was surprised. I looked it up on Letterboxd, and it only has 2.5 stars. But I thought it was really, really good. The first review I saw on here, a guy that I'm friends with on here, his whole review just says this film was offensive to my eyes and to life. half star.
Well,
it does have that typical like. Go ahead.
You are from Ohio, after all. And you are wanting Soul Brother to be re-released at some point.
Soul Man.
Soul Man. Sorry. Sorry.
Speaking of racism, Jesus.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Good just like character arc kind of movie. It had a lot of the typical 80s kind of just stereotypes in it that you feel good about the character overcoming. But it was good. Denzel was good as a teenager. I had never seen him young before, so yeah, it was good.
Is it a comedy or a drama or a little bit of both? Or
I'd say it's both. Yeah, it kind of played out like it wasn't like as screwball as like a Richard Pryor and Gene what was his name?
Wilder.
Gene Wilder, yeah. But yeah, it was good. It had very good comedic moments in it. Just kind of like they didn't try to make the racism funny. Just kind of like him dealing with not being rich anymore was a lot of the funny stuff.
Okay.
I think I've seen that before on cable back in the day.
Yeah. Oh God, I'd recommend it though. It's a good watch, and it was pretty short, 90 minutes.
So I guess it's my turn. So
yeah,
mine is a double feature. It was released by AGFA when they were part of MVD. And I never opened it. And here's the thing. The movie's called The Zodiac Killer, and the second feature is Another Son of Sam. I will say the second feature is better than the first one, but I've always been curious about this movie, The Zodiac Killer, because when I was in high school, I was a big, true crime fan, and Robert Graysmith wrote a book called Zodiac, which was basically the basis of David Fincher's film. He was a cartoonist at the San Francisco Examiner or Chronicle, I can't remember which. and he started trying to decipher the codes. But he also, in the book, he mentions this movie, which was directed by
Francis Ford Coppola.
No, we're not that cool. It was directed by someone who has not made another movie. This was it.
Man.
It was directed by Tom Hansen, and the only reason he made it and rented out a theater in San Francisco to show it was the Zodiac Killer was a movie fan and also very egotistical, that he thought that he would actually come see it. They also had a box in the theater where you could drop in clues who you thought the Zodiac Killer might be. And there was supposedly a policeman waiting in the box looking at all of them because they knew what the Zodiac's handwriting was like.
So
story,
it was like a man-sized box.
Yes.
Okay.
The story behind the movie is actually better than the movie.
You stole the words out of my mouth. I have never been able to finish this film, and I have tried several times.
But here's the thing. I watched the whole thing. Like with any AGFA released, I watched the trailers first on there, and it made me want to watch the Toolbox Murders again. And then I started with the Zodiac Killer, and it's an interesting movie because it feels like it's two movies spliced into one. You meet all these characters first. You meet Grover, who's a misogynistic, dope-taking, child neglecting, deadbeat dad who wears a toupee. And then there is, I think his name is Jerry. Jerry, played by Hal Reed, who is a mailman who also is the Zodiac Killer. And Grover and Jerry are friends. I don't really know how. They're just a mailman, but they always hang out at the same bar. Grover wears this stupid toupee and pretends to be like a high-rolling businessman. And this leads to one of the funniest scenes in the movie where Grover has all these women surrounding him, and their hands are all over him. He invites Jerry to join them. He tells a woman that don't touch his hair, and then immediately the toupee comes off, and all the women are in horror that he is bald. And it's so fucking stupid because the women in there should have realized that was just a toupee. It also gives reasoning for the Zodiac's killing. His bird died, and his dad was in a mental institution.
That'll do it.
But it's really interesting because in the monologue at the beginning, it says you never know who's going to be a killer. It could be someone sitting right next to you, basically in the theater. And this movie was sleazy. It was stupid. It was a total cash grab in what might be the first Zodiac exploitation movie that was done for a good cause. The second feature was called Another Son of Sam, and it was possibly 1 hour and 10 minutes of the most ridiculous movie I have ever seen. It was directed, produced, and written by a guy named David A. Adams, and this was his first and only movie. And it starts off with all these facts about serial killers. And then we get to David Berkowitz, and then the title, Not Another Son of Sam. This movie has nothing to do with the Son of Sam killings. Nothing at all. Instead of New York, it takes place in Charlotte, North Carolina, I believe. The first 10 minutes have really nothing to do with the movie. We open up on a couple on the lake on their motorboat. Then we see them at a nightclub where we see Tony Charo perform. Tony Charo was a popular 70s singer, lounge singer, and he is like looking very uncomfortable as he's singing his hit song and looking at the audience in weird ways. You would think this would pay off later in the movie, but it doesn't. We just hear the song 2 more times in the film. Then we discover a madman has escaped from an institution and he goes on a killing rampage. Well, it ends up at a college where he kills some girls, ends up holding 2 of the girls hostages. The guy who we saw motorboating at the beginning is now revealed to be a cop. And he's with the chief of police, and he's like, or the sergeant going, oh no, the chief. He's like going, you seem to we seem to be fond of the new cop. He's like, well, yeah, it's my son-in-law. Then we see him go get shot by the killer, where the chief immediately says, how am I going to tell my daughter that her husband just died in the line of duty? That movie was spectacularly so fucking bad. I hope at some point with their OCN partnership they re-release it.
You want it to be re-released?
I think more people need to see it, and Brian, you need to give it a chance. It's just wacky. What's also weird.
I definitely need to watch the second feature on there. I haven't even put that on. Yeah, I might do that one this week just to see.
What's weird, and I'm not sure, do AGFA movies usually come with booklets? For some reason, I don't remember.
You know what? I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a norm. But I'm trying to remember any that did that one have a book?
It had a really nice booklet in it.
Nice.
Yeah, this was my first viewing of, when I bought it, it was the first AGFA thing I bought, and I bought pretty much almost all of the ones that they released through MVD because I really like the 2 AGFA releases from Vinegar Syndrome back when they were on DVD. And they are one of my favorite partner labels.
I'm trying to remember if I have this one or not. I can't remember.
Well, I did say you wanted to watch both of them.
Yeah, but that could be any movie.
It could be, because
I have 21,000 films in my watch list.
yeah, you're never going to make it through all of them. But we are going to make it through the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. So before we get on to it, I have to say, like many horror franchises, they kind of lose steam. But overall, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think the first 2 are the best, and pretty much anything that came after it is a piece of shit.
I'm trying to see.
Honestly, I've only ever seen 1 and 2. Watched the remake, and I think, if I recall, there was like a Texas Chainsaw 3D or something. Now, I did enjoy Leatherface. I actually thought that was
Doesn't
a
count.
pretty cool movie.
I think the only 2 that count are the ones Tobe Hooper did.
Oh,
Because
yeah, there's also Texas Chainsaw the beginning. I forgot about that one.
There's no real continuity between any of the movies except the first and second, and some pretty much ignore everything that came after the first one. It's kind of disjointed like Halloween was, but it's just messed up. But this one is so spectacular because it was made, what, 13 years after the original?
You 13 or 14, something like that, yeah.
And Tobe Hooper came back to it, and unlike any of the other horror franchises like Friday the 13th or Halloween, he decided to do something different, something that could polarize the audiences of people who enjoyed the first one. He decided to make this a horror comedy film.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he made the right move by upping the camp.
Yeah, I think that's probably the big thing in the movie. I think it was, I don't know, I think it kind of both succeeded and fell victim to the way movies, specifically horror movies, transformed in the 80s compared to what they were in the 70s. It was just a completely different tone. The first one seemed more kind of like, I don't know, Tobe Hooper was trying to make some kind of highbrow art kind of movie, and then this one was like full 80s. which I prefer, but it was definitely different than the first one.
So let's discuss the plot of this one. We open up on two rambunctious high schoolers drinking, driving, and shooting all the way through Texas to get to Dallas. They are constantly calling a radio station that for some reason can't hang up on people who call them. I don't understand that. Just hang the phone the fuck up.
You don't remember that? That's how it used to be. If the person on the other line didn't hang up, the call was still going.
What?
Yeah, on landlines, yeah.
Are you being serious?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I remember that. I mean, maybe up there in Michigan, you had some high tech phone.
All right. That does explain movies where you hang up. No, you hang up. You hang up. No, you hang up.
Yeah, that's how it used to be.
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
Yeah. Call like wouldn't disconnect unless both phones hung up.
Weird.
I'm glad you said that, because that was what I was thinking the whole time too. Like, just hang the fucking phone up. Learn something new today.
So then those two rambunctious teenagers who have the personalized license plate of "fuck you" mess with the wrong rednecks and get slaughtered by Leatherface. I do have to say, in between the times they called, when we go back to the radio station, I was so excited to hear the Cramps Goo Goo Muck being played, which I thought was just an amazing soundtrack choice for a shit radio station located above a gun store in Texas. They record the incident happening. We then meet Dennis Hopper, who is a Texas Marshal, Texas Ranger, I can't remember which. And he has been trying to solve the Texas Chainsaw Massacres. While we learned in the beginning, no one could find any evidence of it, but there have been chainsaw massacres throughout the past decade. He meets Lefty, or Dennis Hopper's character, meets the radio DJ who recorded it. Oh, hold on, I am forgetting that we do meet the family again, and they are making chili and winning chili and have a food truck. And I thought it was hilarious when the woman found a tooth in the chili. He claimed it off to be something else, and everyone bought it. I just love the fact that he has a food truck and he is unintentionally turning people into cannibals. All right.
That's how Wendigos are created.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Then she plays the tape of the atrocity every hour on the hour as a request from Lefty. I can't remember. Well, the guy who's in all the Rob Zombie trilogy of the Firefly family,
Bill Moseley.
Bill Moseley, I'm presuming calls his dad to warn him about the accident. Then he shows up at the radio station late at night, wants to get a tour, scratching his head with a lit wire hanger. Then Leatherface comes in, and for some reason he is smitten by the DJ. And there's a scene in the radio station where the way he has his chainsaw, where he has it, that's where I'm looking for, where he has it positioned,
The word
and the DJ, it might be the hottest sex scene ever in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
Yeah, that was a pretty good scene.
Yeah.
The fucking the lines that Stretch delivers during that, though, they just come out of nowhere. Like, she just all of a sudden starts like this whole good boy thing with them.
Yeah.
And all this shit. It's just like, this is where your mind immediately went to. Like, we're just gonna seduce this guy. I just thought it was funny.
But it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's a car chase, and somehow they end up at their headquarters, their secret lair. Stretch falls through the ground. Then somehow Dennis Hopper gets down there. Leatherface is trying to hide her, but when the family finds out that she's there, the father basically says, I knew this day would come that he'd be interested in sex.
Yeah. You have a choice to make, the sex or the saw or something. Also, I want to discuss just briefly the scene with when Dennis Hopper shows up and Stretch is like, trying to find out how to get in, just where the family's at and everything. It's like we're supposed to be afraid of this car chasing her, and I don't know if maybe this is because of the restoration or not, but you can clearly, because we've already established what he drives, and you can see his big cowboy hat. It's like, what's he doing? But it's supposed to be like this tense moment, and then he hops out of the car and she's like, oh, Lefty, like she's just like so shocked.
All right, I do want to rewind a bit. When she meets Lefty in the hotel room, and we see some of the creepiest looking cowboys, just like making middle school eye gazes at her. That was hilarious. All right. So then we reach our conclusion of the film, where basically her and Lefty kill the entire family. Her and Bill Moseley have one final standoff. I should say at this point he has lost his Sonny Bono wig.
Yeah.
And music is his life. Are battling in the crypt of his grandma, who is somehow mummified with a chainsaw.
She was still alive, apparently.
No,
he kept saying you killed her, and like her head was moving around. You could even see the wire attached to it to make her head nod and stuff.
How is she still alive?
How are any of those people alive? Like that, isn't that great?
Yeah.
Years old.
I'm guessing it's good eating.
Whose sole purpose in these films is just throw that hammer.
I mean, Leatherface should technically be around 40 at this point.
I was going to ask, did anyone call him Leatherface in the first one? I couldn't remember. But
I don't think so.
Had it quite a few times in this one.
No, I do know that the first one, I think it was initially supposed to be titled Leatherface, and then they switched it. But no, I don't. No one actually refers to him as Leatherface in the original.
All right. So spoiler, she basically takes the grandma's chainsaw after several failed attempts to start up. She starts it up, kills Bill Moseley's character, and then I guess she's insane by the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a couple of things here that I wrote down at the very beginning when they were doing like the recap. I really liked that scene, and I really wished it was like the Unsolved Mysteries guy saying it. Kind of that.
Oh, Robert Stack.
um, um, I guess I feel like when I don't have a ton of notes in a movie, it means that I really liked it because I'm just sitting there watching it. But the next one I have is when I referred to him as just Hopper in all of my notes, but Lefty. When he gave Stretch, God, these fucking nicknames. Is that her name? Stretch, yeah.
Yeah.
When he gave her the tape and told her to play it, like, real dick move, you know. He later says like, "Oh yeah, sorry girl, I used you." And it's like, you're gonna like at least be waiting there at the station. You showed up like an hour later. Somebody died.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, we can't have a discussion about this film without mentioning when Dennis Hopper gets the chainsaw spray. In my opinion, that's like one of the best scenes in the whole film. So he buys 3. He buys 2 small ones that he could, he's in there in the fucking chainsaw store, like testing them out. But the funniest part is when the owner says, they've got some gas, and if you want to try them out outside.
Yeah.
So Dennis Hopper just like this like sped up footage and shit, and the owner is standing there like licking his lips and like, oh yeah, like completely just, I don't know, like enamored with Dennis Hopper or something. Like, no, there's a man who knows how to use a chainsaw. Yeah. It's so goofy.
I was really hoping the gun store under the radio station was going to come into play at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how come nobody broke into it to get guns?
Yeah. That one must have been locked up, apparently. Unlike every other building in any of these movies.
I do think Bill Moseley's introduction scene was pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he was supposed to be the brother of the hitchhiker in the first one.
Oh, okay. I kind of assumed it was just the hitchhiker, but
That's what I thought too. I thought it was just him.
I guess in the first one, he's credited as hitchhiker. This guy is Chop Top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he went to Vietnam.
Yeah.
Or Chop Top.
Chop Top.
Okay.
I really wonder what side he was. But oh my God, this is a fun movie.
Oh, one other thing I had written down was, and this might be the biggest mystery of all. Why was Franklin there? Because they specifically say at the beginning, like, this is like the opposite end of Texas that this is happening. And I know it's probably put some fan service in there or something, but I was like, what? That's not going to be Franklin. And then Lefty walks up and it's just like, oh, Franklin.
I don't remember that scene.
Yeah.
He goes down into that cave or whatever that they're living in, and there's just a wheelchair with a skeleton in it, and it's holding a flashlight.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. That was weird.
Yeah.
Because he did drop the flashlight in the first one.
Yeah, and it's like, did he just throw his body in their pickup truck and just say like, oh no, we need this guy at the other place? Need more skeleton decorations down there.
God, that must have really stunk down there.
Yeah, because I was raving so much about the set design in the first one, and in this one I was just like, what are they going for here? It's like it kind of, I don't know, it's like a fucking awesome little bachelor pad with just skeletons and shit laying around. There's like all these party lights and just
Yeah.
But where do they get all the? How many people do you think they have to kill to make all their food?
Yeah, so
There's a lot. There was a lot of massacring going on between 1 and 2.
when Lefty first showed up at the car crash with those two guys, car was all sawed up. The cop that showed up was saying like it was something that was going on at that time of year where like everyone comes to town.
For a big football game.
Yeah.
But some of them don't even come for the football, they just come to party.
Yeah. So they must just come during that time and pick off college kids or something.
But
their
I mean, how could they think it was an accident when there were definitive chainsaw markings all over the car?
Yeah. Maybe he was in on it.
No, I mean, anyone could be. Like, it was a vast conspiracy in the first one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that's kind of the big, other than the tone of the movie, I think that was the big difference between the two that really, I don't know if it made me like it a little less, but in the first one, like the family is like so like evil, so menacing, you don't know who's involved, you don't know who you can trust. And in this one, I know they tried to throw some comedy in, but it almost makes them just seem like so ineffective at what they're doing.
Well, I'll be honest. There are days I prefer this one to the original.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think it's a better made movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first one I think was Tobe Hooper's first feature. Brian, we can only see half your face.
What are you doing with your mouth, boy?
Sorry, I'm here. No. I was sorry. I was talking to my wife for a second, but I heard everything you guys were saying. Sometimes you prefer this one to the first one.
Yeah. Because stylistically, it's a better movie. It has better actors in it. But I also enjoy the pivot.
What do you think it was about Stretch that drove Leatherface so wild that those ones in the first one didn't? Because man, those ones are good.
He was going through a latent puberty.
Well, she was also talking to him like he was a person.
Yeah.
The other ones were just like, ah!
Yeah, they treat him like a
damn. I know I don't look that great, but Jesus, I got feelings. No, I feel like we've had similar discussions on here several times. What is happening here, man?
Nothing.
Can you guys see me?
Yes, we can see and hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I've got a phone call coming in, and all of a sudden you guys are in a little corner. I have a hard time comparing the films. Like when I look at them each just like as a standalone film, I love them both for totally different reasons, and for being what they are. I love the fact that Tobe Hooper did decide to go a comedic route with the second one. It's when I think of them, and I guess you kind of disagree, which is perfectly fine. I mean, yes, there is cohesiveness between the two films as far as the characters go and stuff, and I do applaud that he did that. It's hard for me to look at them as the same franchise because it is such a drastic change between the first and second one. Mm-hmm. I love them both for their own reasons, for sure. I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is funny as hell, and there's like, God, that scene where when we first see Leatherface in the second one, and he's got like that corpse in front of him, like he's and acting like it's the one wielding the chainsaw, and it just looks so damn funny, but it's also kind of creepy. because it just, again, sort of with, a lot of the images in the first one, like Tobe Hooper does a really good job at just making things just look not right. Like there's just something off about this. So you can clearly see that it is this corpse, but like, oh, there's something behind it controlling it. It's just kind of eerie looking. But I do. I love it. I love it.
So
I don't think I could ever, for me, I don't think I could ever say like, oh, it's better than the original just because of my affinity for the first one.
look, I also have great affinity for the first one, but I don't know for a fact because I haven't watched any of the special features, listened to any commentary on this. I have a feeling this movie was made as a reaction to all the other horror movies of the 80s that were being franchised out, like Halloween, Friday the 13th.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's why they finally introduced this as like a Leatherface character. Like they want to get in on the whole, main character kind of franchise kind of thing. Because I mean, everyone's dead down there unless in the third one, is it this? It's got to be the same Leatherface, right? Or you said that's not connected?
I can't remember. I mean, I have seen 3 and Next Generation. I think Next Generation is the one that ignores 2 and 3. I can't remember. I haven't seen them in a long time. But I only consider the first 2 canon because Tobe Hooper was involved with them. John Carpenter was involved in some figure as part of the Halloween series in some manner. But yeah, with Tobe Hooper's involvement, I don't consider them true sequels.
So get ready to have your mind blown. Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, written by Tobe Hooper.
Was it?
Yeah.
Or was it characters created by Tobe Hooper and written by somebody else?
Says original writer.
That means the first movie.
No.
Hold on. I'm gonna blow your mind.
Let me see the Next Generation. While you're looking that up, I was gonna say it is hard to compare them, like Brian was saying, because the first one would definitely never have a bit where a character gets their butthole chainsawed and then makes jokes about it for like 10 minutes straight. So it's like it is just like a straight morph into the 80s kind of tropes that were in everything back then. Even like the cover, like Leatherface is he like throwing up his fist or is he flexing?
I'd have to look at it.
Hold on, I'm looking this up. I don't like being proven wrong.
I mean, if Matt's looking right at it, are you saying that maybe it's worded in the way of like
Says
the characters and stuff were created by?
Original film was released in 1974, directed and produced by Tobe Hooper, and written by Hooper and Kim Henkel. Hooper and Henkel were involved in 3 of the later films, and they're both listed as writers. I don't
Okay,
know.
so written Texas Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, written by David J. Shaw, based on characters created by Kim Henkel, Tobe Hooper.
What dark website are you on? Because that's not what this one says.
I'm on Wikipedia, and now I'm going to go to.
You said David Howe?
Yes.
Chow?
No. All right. So now I'm on. I'm now on writing credits. Kim Henkel characters, Tobe Hooper characters, David J. Shaw was the writer of it. Tobe Hooper had no writing involved in Texas Chainsaw 3.
Letterbox says otherwise.
Letterbox is wrong.
Let's fitty this.
Nope. I'm going to go Letterbox and prove you wrong too.
Oh my God, guys.
Look, I did my research.
Well, you went off Wikipedia the first time and it just said they were involved. So
It said they were original writers of the characters. They had nothing to do with the writing of this movie.
Involved in the 3 later films.
Okay, so credits.
Oh man.
On Wikipedia, on Letterboxd, Jeff Bird director, David J. Shaw writer, and crew.
And Tobe Hooper.
He did not write this movie. It's based on the characters created. Like Halloween 4, John Carpenter had nothing to do with it, but he's credited as a writer because he created Michael Myers.
I'm looking it up. It says specifically here, Robert is wrong.
No, Robert is right.
I've been to that website, robertiswrong.com. Yeah.
So Halloween 4, John Carpenter not listed anywhere as a writer.
But another thing is Tobe Hooper had nothing to do with the series past number 2.
Okay, well, you know how I never like to pick the next film? I'm going to go ahead and say that next week we should discuss Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
I don't
because
own
I've
it.
never seen it, and I don't either, but it's got to be somewhere, right?
I already had a movie planned for us for next week.
Damn it, Robert. God.
But I'll just say it now, Bio Zombie.
For next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
In for that.
All right.
It does say the third one is on something called Screambox.
Ooh, I have Screambox.
I don't have Screambox.
I don't know what that is.
And I just subscribed.
It's actually pretty cool.
I just subscribed to Apple Plus today.
Nice. Just in time for Ted Lasso season 3.
No, there's a few series I want to watch on there. Then I'll probably end my subscription. All right. So beside our argument that I won, Brian, how many how many Texas Chainsaw Massacres would you give this movie?
Why don't you guys go first? I'm still mentally debating my rating.
Okay, Matt, how many Texas Chainsaw Texas Chainsaw Massacres would you give this film?
I'm gonna go the same as I gave 1, which was 4.5. I think I love them for completely different reasons. And this one really drove the score up for me because I prefer 80s horror over 70s horror. And this one, even though it was such a departure from the tone of the first one, I think it still really did it for me. So going 4.5, Texas Chainsaw Massacres.
Brian, how about you?
I think 4. I'm good with 4. Everything I mentioned earlier, I don't want to repeat myself. It's funny as hell. It's a good time. I as much as I have a hard time like comparing them, I also have as hard of a time like separating them, if that makes any sense. So that's kind of where my battle is in my mind. But yes, I think 4. It's definitely a great time.
I will go the same as Matt and give it 4.5.
Nice.
I
think these are probably our highest rated as a group.
Yeah.
It was. It's a fun watch, and the Vinegar Syndrome version is a heavy upgrade from the Scream Factory.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, I took it out of that. Well, first I forgot that it had like the little slip box thing, and then I forgot that it was 4K, and I was like, oh man, this was a good release.
Yeah. No, it looks great.
And it feels great. All right. I have several things I do want to talk about at our conclusion. The first one is interesting. So, how familiar are you guys with YouTube commentators?
What do you mean?
These
Like,
are basically people who just comment on other people's videos.
hmm,
Oh, I'm not at all.
There's not very, most of them are not very good, but there's this one called Gabby Bella, who basically I discovered her because she roasts bad comedians. And I'm in fear every time that she does a roast that I'll be on there. But I found a video, it came up in my feed of something she did a year ago called The Wild World of DVDs. And she said she's 25 when she recorded that one. I think that makes her Gen Z, right?
2005, you said? Yeah, I think so.
No, no, she's 25.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
She,
I think it still is though. I think that's
okay.
true.
So basically, she is not a collector, but she did this video on how DVDs are superior to streaming. I don't know why she didn't talk about Blu-ray or 4K, because maybe when she was growing up, it was DVDs. And she was basically saying it's a superior format to streaming because of all the extras that are on there. Like, she used the Shrek 2 DVD as an example of how there were games on there for her to play. And it got me thinking, if this is the generation that has grown up being nostalgic for DVDs, and also because Disney announced, Bob Iger from Disney announced that they are going to be putting a lot of money back into physical media. I'm paraphrasing that I think we're about to see a resurgence of physical media outside the collector's market.
Yeah, I saw that announcement too, and it kind of goes back to that conversation we were having before about like I forget what I brought up, but it was pretty much saying like Netflix is like consistently just in a revolving debt. It's like never really making money, but it is able to fund projects. And I think that guy you said, Bob Iger is his name.
Yep.
Um, he said the same thing. Like streaming is very unprofitable, so it's hopefully. I mean, I like streaming a lot. It's nice to just find what you want to watch, but hopefully it does show them like, oh, we need to go back to home video, and it does boom again.
Well, I mean, think about it. On Disney Plus, you have all those Marvel shows that have not been released, and the Star Wars shows that have not been released on physical media. There are also a good amount of people who do not subscribe to Disney Plus, and members of the community who would like to own those and have them add them to their collection.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to see that. I think we're also going to see a ton of catalog titles. Like I know Kino just got a bunch of Disney titles. We don't know what they got, but it could be anything from old Disney comedies like Herbie the Love Bug to Touchstone films like Splash, to some of the sci-fi films like Black Hole, Something Wicked This Way Comes, or to some of the Miramax library and Dimension library that they used to own. So, I mean, oh, and 20th Century Fox. Can't forget that. So there's now a whole bunch of stuff that we could be seeing coming out. And we could see some of the series come out. And I don't think they actually have to release it. Criterion and other labels can release all this stuff as well.
Yeah, it would be nice. Sure. I do hope it's there's another YouTuber I watch. He's good to like put on when you're ready to fall asleep. His name's I think either Ethan or Elliot. He's a
British guy, yeah.
Yeah, but he just did a video about the thumbnail was like, is physical media dead? And then you just pure clickbait and you watch it and he's saying that it's he feels that we're entering into like a second golden age of physical media.
But I think he's talking from a collector's perspective.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
And to be honest, we don't matter to the major studios. If they put something out, and we like it, we're automatically going to buy it. But it's getting to people who might have a 4K player just collecting dust in the closet, or a Blu-ray player, and it's time for them to get it out again or buy a new one, because I think Disney is crunching the numbers and going, you know what? The streaming bubble is starting to burst. We're going to start losing more subscribers than we had, because streaming is no longer cheaper than cable. When it was just Netflix and Hulu, yeah, people could manage those. But now, no. There's too many, and Netflix is constantly raising their price. HBO Max just raised their price. I think when Shudder gets moved over into AMC Plus, that price is going to raise.
In a surprising move, Paramount Plus lowered their price.
Yep, because I think people subscribe to them for an entirely. I think Peacock and Paramount Plus have something very different. You get access to the local stations and local programming.
Yeah.
And you get a ton of content on them. Like, I just noticed Megan dropped on on Peacock, so I'm going to watch it at some point this week.
Yeah, Paramount Plus also just got one I'm super excited for, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Yeah, why? Why are you excited about that?
It looks good, man. It's an A24 banger. It's up for
Oh, is that little animated film?
Yeah, no.
Let me know.
It might be good.
It might be. It might be cute.
Yesterday I watched Scream 4 on Paramount Plus because I can't find my Blu-ray of it. And so I did see part 6 on Thursday. Brian, I know you saw it last night.
I didn't actually. It's too much to go into, but we weren't able to make it. So
Too bad.
yeah, I know.
And I think I realized the difference between the first set of Scream movies and this new trilogy, or however there are. I think there's a master plan to them.
Okay.
Because Scream 3 in some ways contradicted Scream 1. But I thought Scream 4 was actually a good movie. It explored something different than the first ones, and something that really tied into 5. But I also don't know why people were clamoring for the character of Kirby to come back.
Who is that? Is that
The girl Hayden Panettiere, the one who was on Heroes and Nashville?
Yeah,
And
I'm 3 movies behind at this point. I haven't seen any of the 4, 5, or 6 that I can remember.
You've never seen 4 or 5?
I might have seen 4. 5 was the one that just came out like 2 years ago.
Last year.
Yeah, but I didn't watch it because I wanted to. When we watched the first one, I was like, oh, I need to watch the rest of these before I watch the new one. And now another new one came out already, so it's like,
And next year another new one will come out.
it's worse than Fast and the Furious. I'm like,
There's no. Do not disrespect the Fast and Furious saga. I'm really excited about the new one.
Yeah.
There are a lot of good movies coming out. Like in this month alone, Shazam! Fury of Gods, which actually got a really good. People are saying it's a really good movie, which I find surprising. Because I swore I would not watch any of the DC movies except for Flash until we get to DCU Chapter 1 under James Gunn. And then the following week, John Wick Chapter 4, nearly 3 hours long, which I think is great because each movie got longer.
Speaking of 4s, we should be expecting Expendables 4 this year.
I don't think so.
It was supposed to come out last year, but it got pushed to this year. I think Sylvester Stallone is probably realizing he's just not cut out for this anymore.
I still need to see Creed 3,
Yeah.
but I can't justify going to the movies every week.
It is a lot.
Yeah. So did you guys watch anything after Texas Chainsaw Massacre too?
Well, I had this grand plan to watch the Oscar nominated movies this week to try and get all my picks in for tonight, and
Ooh.
out of everything I managed to make time for one short. So that was about it. I actually hope it wins because it was a really good short, and I really want them to say on stage the winner is My Year of Dicks.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think I think I think the Michelle Yeoh movie is going to win everything this tonight.
Yeah, I think that'll do some sweeping.
Yeah, our ticket sales for tonight's comedy show are kind of low because of the Oscars. If I knew there was the Oscars tonight, I would have canceled it, but I did not look ahead.
But any thoughts on who's getting physically assaulted this year?
No one. I heard they hired the bodyguards from the Jerry Springer show.
Steve?
Will Smith just shows up and just starts slapping just everybody. Just
Chris Rock just put a new special out last week.
Yeah, it was the first live thing done on Netflix. I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I think it was the first time he spoke about it too, and it went through the whole thing, and I was like, "Well, he's not gonna bring this up." And then I think it was the last like 10 minutes. He just called Will Smith a bitch for like 10 minutes straight.
I mean,
He
think
said he
about
called
it.
him a
Think
bitch?
about it. Will Smith is a bitch. As on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he got in trouble with some kids in the neighborhood and was forced out because his mama thought he wasn't tough enough and went to live with his uncle and auntie in Bel-Air.
Made him soft.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I like Will Smith. I think he's a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
And he has had a great career. He made a stupid mistake. I'm sure he thought it was going to come off as funny, but he just made a stupid mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was a joke at first, and then when he got back to the seat and was just started screaming and cussing at him, I was like, okay, this is happening.
For a minute there, I thought Vince McMahon was producing the Oscars.
Would have been nice.
Dude, Chris Rock, he took that like a champ. I mean, yeah, his entire response to that I thought was just so awesome.
There was that moment where I thought like he like got the look on off his face of like confusion, and he was like, "Ooh, I could," and I thought he was just gonna like unleash all of Will Smith's secrets right on stage, but he like stopped himself, and I was like, "Oh man, he was about to do something." So yeah, that was so to answer your question, no, I haven't watched anything. Me and my wife did start this series on Netflix. We've been going through all of the like serial killer stuff, and we watched the first episode of Killer Sally, who was Sally McNeil. It was Ray McNeil's wife. He was like a professional bodybuilder in the 80s, and she was like real into bodybuilding. Apparently they were like, and she started making money through like making wrestling videos, and pretty good so far.
I burned through the Alex Murdaugh one in a day.
Which one?
The one on Netflix.
Okay, there's another one on HBO that is completely different, like just the lens who they tell the story through.
It's too bad the one on Netflix and the one I didn't know there was one on HBO, but it was pretty much out of date by the time it was released.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a crazy.
Yeah, I've still just been chopping away at Masters of Horror. That's been my thing, and I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it.
That's a great show, or it was a great show. I wish it was on. I wish it was on Showtime, but Anchor Bay owned that one.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, you guys were mentioning Screambox earlier. That's what I'm watching it on.
yeah,
So,
as I said, I just got Apple Plus today because there's several movies I'm looking forward to that are on there.
I've never even looked to see what they have, honestly.
It's kind of light, but it's like I've never seen Ted Lasso before, so I think I'll start watching that. There's some good direct to Apple Plus movies are on there. But what I'm getting at is, so last night I watched a Texas double feature, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and the spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused, Everybody Wants Some. And I thought it was a great way to to wash the horror out of my eyes and ears and mouth, because it basically takes place on the weekend before the start of school in September 1980, and it's a really interesting film. Have you guys seen it?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting film because it's about this kid who is 18-year-old baseball player, and he's living in the baseball houses, and it follows him as he goes from bar to party to party to party. And it's interesting because every time they go to a different bar, they start dressing up like the kind of bar it is. So they wear a disco the first night, a country western bar the second one. They ended up at a punk show as for the third one, and then at a party, and then they went to the art and drama club party on the fourth night. And it was just so interesting because this whole movie is a metaphor of discovering who you are and who your tribe is in college. But they made it seem like the first 4 days of college before classes is so much fun. And then I remembered, because I told you guys one of my oldest friends died this past week, and he was the guy who got me interested in something weird video, because he went and rented it, a bunch of them of like early stag films, and they were so stupid that we spent the whole night watching them. But it reminded me of my first weekend in college, because actually my first 2 weeks, because we had a professor strike going on and there was no classes for the first 2 weeks. So it was about indulging in every bad habit that you can get, and I really enjoyed it. And sometimes we all do it. We have to step away from the schlock and get to movies that are just better written, better directed, and better acted.
Yeah, it is nice to I don't want to say the phrase watch something good for once, but because I love all these old movies, but yeah, it's a nice little breather, I guess.
Yeah,
Well,
I have planned to watch The Fablemans at some point this week, because you were talking about the Oscars and stuff, and I generally do pretty good at keeping up with the nominees and stuff, and I haven't seen hardly any of them, and I was like, I really am missing out on some probably pretty damn good films, just from constantly taking in this all this crazy shit that we watch. So it is definitely time for a bit of a palate cleanser for me.
Just
yes.
time for Biozombie.
Yeah, no,
I know I'm the only one who's actually seen it before. Biozombie is. I don't want to spoil it for you. I had so much fun watching it, though.
Nice.
But I guess that
yeah,
does.
as I oh, okay, cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
hold
sorry,
on.
I was gonna
Actually,
say I gotta.
oh, yeah. Why don't you say it first? Because then I'm going to do my mid-level media comment of the week.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I do have some errands I gotta run, but guys, it was awesome. And yes, I will see you all next week. Okay,
All right.
So-
Bye.
see you guys.
So actually, I have no mid-level media thing to rip on him for because I did not watch any of his videos this past week.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's weird. Like, I'm not subscribed to him, but his videos always popped up for
Oh
me.
yeah. I'm not subscribed to him either. And they're always in my feed.
But ever since you've started talking about it, nothing has showed up. So it's like my electronics are listening.
He's probably stewing, going, "Why the fuck are these guys always talking about me? I've done nothing wrong to them."
Well, he unsubscribed, so that's all it took.
And to our subscriber who left us, baby, come back. We miss you. Please tell us what we did wrong.
Let's just make sure. Nope, still gone.
That's fine. We'll replace you with a better subscriber.
Yeah, maybe two.
Someone who likes us for just being us. It was probably Master Chaos and Slipcover Bullet Blank.
And that other guy you really like, who lives in his parents' basement.
Which one is that?
I don't know. The one that's like, "Hey guys."
Oh, Sean C. Phillips.
That's the best impression I can do.
Hey guys, today we're gonna go Blu-ray shopping. Into Target we go. Into Best Buy we go. I honestly I don't know how people still make their Tuesday shopping videos because at this moment in time, most of those stores don't have a good selection of physical media to go through.
Mm-hmm. And even like new releases, I've popped in there a couple days, like in between getting off work and going to class, and that's like 5:30 p.m. and they're just still not put out yet. So
that happens to me almost every time I go to Best Buy, and except for one location that I got to drive a little bit of a distance for,
Mhm.
because still some locations have more than others for now. But if something's not out, I'll just go approach somebody. They're like, "Oh, if it's not out, we don't have it." I'm like, "According to your app, you do."
Yeah. I
I
can
mean,
see them in that cardboard box on the cart. Can I just take one out?
they go in the back and they find them.
Yeah.
They just don't have the time or care to put them out. Like Inglorious Bastards, I went to a Best Buy on the Saturday it came out after it came out on 4K. It still hadn't been put out yet. And after 30 minutes of waiting, someone finally went and found it. I'm like, "I'm sorry, I just bought it on Amazon."
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty disheartening sometimes, but hey, maybe it's getting better.
I don't think we'll see it until about a year
Yeah.
and a half.
As long as
And I think I think it'll be something that people were nostalgic for if they were born in the early 2000s, saw it, or the mid to late 90s, and saw it in the 2010s. It'll be a major re-release of something like that. But like I was talking about that girl, Gabby, she was just again nostalgic for DVDs.
I was gonna bring something up when you were talking about that. Do you know who like the Cinemassacre channel is and like the Angry Video Game Nerd?
I've watched videos about the angry video game nerd and they weren't too flattering.
Yeah. He puts out some, so he has like that channel about old Nintendo games, but his other side of it is Cinemassacre, and it's they just talk about kind of like the same movies that we talk about. And he made this like 20-minute long video maybe last year about how he misses DVD, and his big thing that his like he had like 5 or 10 reasons why, but his number one was the menus. And he said like you get a Blu-ray now and the menu is just like play, scenes, special features, and like that's it. And he like pops in some DVD menus and there's like just shit flying all over the place. There's like scenes made specifically for just the DVD menu. He said, just like you said, there's games and stuff. And he was like, maybe this is why physical media is dying out, because it just seems like they don't care anymore. They're not putting in the same load of effort on these, but I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, I remember on the second DVD of Dogma, it had an amazing menu,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Blu-ray did not have that same menu.
Yeah. Yesteryear.
Also, it's because, again, the home videos become less of a priority.
Mm-hmm. Which is weird because home theater equipment is getting better and better all the time.
But again, most people would just stream it
Mm-hmm.
and then get angry when it disappears from that service. Again, I use the Blu-ray of Home Alone 2 as an example. If you want to see Trump in it, which I don't, but I still want the movie as originally packaged
Mm-hmm.
or edited, I can't go to Disney Plus and watch it.
Right.
But I can go grab my Blu-ray copy of it.
Yep. Yeah, and at the same time, it's kind of with streaming, you're kind of limited to your area because some areas might only get like a 20 megabyte download, and if you're trying to watch what is listed as like a 4K movie on a streaming service, you're not watching it in 4K. So it's why have a 4K TV? Why have you know what's the new Dolby Atmos? Like you're not going to get those if you don't have the actual copy of it.
I remember when Lost season 3 came out on Blu-ray, and that was the first season released. They had a interview with the introduction by the two guys who basically ran the show. I can't remember their names right now. And they were talking about that this is the first time most people are actually going to be able to see it in 1080p.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
I mean, I think there's advantages and disadvantages, but if you're like you said, if you're wanting to see the uncut, like full quality, like physical media is the only way to go.
I'll also say this: like, I'm not in a rush to convert or buy the 4K to every Blu-ray that I own.
Mm-hmm.
There's no point in it.
Yeah.
Like when my player does upscale stuff, so some DVDs look really good.
Yeah.
Some my Blu-rays look fantastic, and I think in some, like, I'll buy something new in 4K because that's my preferred format, but I don't need everything in 4K.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was kind of just like specifically like the Scream Factory ones that they were releasing. I was just buying them up. Um, but there really there's a minimal difference. So I think I might just switch to like, unless it's got a new like 4K HDR transfer, then I might not bother.
Yeah, I don't know. I prefer 4K, and I'll get the 4K upgrades through my Vinegar Syndrome thing. But I was looking at Severn; they've announced that they're going to be upgrading Dr. Butcher, House on the Edge of the Park, which I will probably get the upgrade for because I love that movie. Dr. Butcher, probably not.
Hmm. Didn't they just recently release House on the Edge of the Park, or is that an older
It
release?
was released at the same time the Bigfoot movie was.
Hmm. You're saying what was that movie? We watched that with
I
the dick
can't
rip.
remember. What?
With the dick rip.
Yep, Dick Rip, which should have been the name of the movie.
Yeah. So yeah, that was, I don't know, maybe a year.
It would be a year, I think a year in November.
Oh, okay, so yeah, that's pretty recent to do a 4K upgrade already.
I mean, it was scanned in 4K, so we knew it was coming at some point. But on that note, we will be back next week at the same time whenever this is launched. And with talking about Biozombie. the best Korean zombie film that takes place in a shopping mall.
Yes.
All right. Please hit, if you like this movie, this show, please hit like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your enemies. We need to make up for that one subscriber we lost.
Yeah.
When Matt told me the news, I cried. So I apologize if it was mid-level media. Mr. Whatever, Chaos, Master Chaos. Never call you Master.
Yeah, you really took out your anger on them.
I calls it like I sees it.
It's gonna bother me all day that I don't know the name of that Sasquatch movie.
You know, you could look it up.
I know. Effort. That takes effort.
You're the data guy. I'm the history guy. And the handsome guy. All right. We will see you folks next week. Have a good one.
See ya.